So I want to start with your reaction to Ma's resignation as CEO of TikTok.
Well, I'm not absolutely surprised about it. If you think about TikTok, it's a global phenomenon. The company has got rocket growth just over the past 2 years or so. The fastest social app growth ever, and they're estimating about a $50 billion valuation right now, more than that of Uber, if we can even believe that. That's amazing. But if you think about it, Kevin really came in to handle this global expansion. But now, if they take the company TikTok and they break off to a U.S. part in Canada, it's really not a global company anymore, and his role doesn't exactly fit. So I'm not surprised of him kind of stepping down and leaving TikTok at this point.
Now, we saw that, according to him, he was saying that he was sort of pushed out or not included in the negotiations. So if the CEO of the company was being forced to sell his assets and that was not part of the negotiations, then who is part of the negotiations?
Yeah, it's a good point. It was kind of strange there. But then, again, I think what happened is when this first started coming out, he didn't take aggressive action right away. He was very defensive. He was saying, hey, there's no security concerns. There's not this. There's not that. When there really was some concerns there was some things that were specifically noted that were discovered. For example, one security concern was that the clipboard could be actually viewed. And that was a concern. They made a quick fix, and they took that out, and some other adjustments they had to make. So there were some security concerns, just like all apps. They weren't that much different than other apps where they're geo-tracked and they know where you are and things like that. So it was a bit confusing exactly how it played out. If he was a little more aggressive and said, hey, we've got some problems, we had to address these immediately, maybe he would have been part of the further negotiations. But it was too little too late, and he wasn't even included in any of those.
Now, he did cite that U.S.-China relations as one of, if not the reason for his resignation. What does that really tell us about the state of relationships between the two countries, especially when it comes to tech?
It is very murky right now. I mean, we look at many examples of companies that are Chinese-owned companies, such as TikTok. I compare it maybe to Huawei. Huawei is a perfect example there. There's a lot of sanctions against Huawei. They've been banned from the U.S. Now we see things changing in the United Kingdom. So there's a lot of pressure from the Trump administration pushing back on Chinese companies. And again, they're pointing toward IP, intellectual property theft, and other things like that they're claiming, espionage, that the Chinese government could potentially do. There's not exactly a lot of proof in these areas, but potentially it could be there. So they're kind of blackballing and banning these Chinese companies, and TikTok is a perfect example of that exact same thing happening. And that, too, may have caused a lot of the turmoil and some of the reasons for him to say, hey, this is too political at this point. I got to get out of here and move on.
And it's interesting because he was brought on because of concerns that they were having in the U.S., but then you have now Vanessa Pappas, who's taking over the U.S. operations of TikTok. What are your thoughts on her and what she brings to the table at this point?
Actually, I think she's probably looking at the bigger picture. She's been there a number of years. She's Australian. She's got a more of a public face with TikTok. Often at all the press briefings, you'll see her there. You'll see her as the face behind the company, and she really understands it. And her background is coming from YouTube on the video side, and that's really what TikTok's expertise is, videos, but just short 15-second clips. So it's a much better fit and face for the company going forward, at least at this interim state, unless they try to get another CEO in, depending upon who buys the company.
So speaking of that, of the companies that are vying for TikTok, who do you think is best positioned, not just in terms of their chances, but also the overall benefit to their broader business?
Well, I think that the companies now vying for him, certainly Oracle, and Oracle's CEO actually is a very pro-Trump and a Trump supporter, so I see a clear connection there. I don't see necessarily a good business fit, per se. Whereas I look at the combination of Microsoft, I think is very powerful, and they really want to have a more consumer play. Right now, Microsoft is not thought of as a consumer company other than its Xbox division. Now, you mate that with Walmart. Walmart is competing fiercely with Amazon in the e-commerce space. So you got a perfect fit, in my opinion, with Microsoft and Walmart. If they were to acquire U.S. operations, they could really develop that and take it to the next level and grow both of their consumer businesses rapidly.
certainly a lot of takers for TikTok. Thank you so much. Scott Schober there, CEO of Berkeley Varitronic Systems and author of Cybersecurity is Everybody's Business.